I trusted my boyfriend. I worshipped my sister. I thought family meant protection. Then one notification changed everything. My name is Emily. I'm 24 now, but this story started 2 years ago, on a night that should have been ordinary. Jake and I had been together for almost a year. We met in college, hit it off fast. He was charming in that laid-back Midwestern way, always holding the door open, remembering my coffee order, sending goodnight texts even when we were apart. He was thoughtful, steady, the kind of guy my conservative family wouldn't exactly love, but couldn't find fault in either. We didn't live together. That would have been too much for my parents. In our culture, living together before marriage isn't just frowned upon, it's scandal. So Jake lived in the city for work, and I stayed closer to home. We met on weekends. It worked. Or, I thought it did. That weekend started like every other. Takeout Thai. Movie on the couch. Jake fell asleep halfway through the film like he always did. The next morning, I was brushing my teeth in his bathroom while he took a shower. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. Once. Then again. Then again. At first, I ignored it. I'm not the snooping type. If you're in a relationship where you feel the need to check someone's phone, you shouldn't be in it. That's what I believed. But something about that moment, it wasn't just instinct. It was this cold pull in my gut. I picked up the phone. The lock screen showed a message. Grace. Last night was dangerous but worth it. I froze. Grace. My little sister. My inseparable sister. The same Grace who used to braid my hair before school. The same Grace who'd said she adored Jake and always called him brother-in-law as a joke. I opened the messages. My hands went numb. What I found wasn't a one-time slip-up. It was months of late-night flirting, selfies, plans to meet when she's out of town. Talk about secrets, jokes I didn't understand because they weren't meant for me. There were no filters, no shame, just texts that stabbed one by one. I scrolled up, down, everywhere, trying to make it make sense, trying to find the point where it all started, when she crossed the line, when he let her. My ears were ringing. The sound of the shower running in the next room felt like it was coming from underwater. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I took screenshots. Every single one. Then I put the phone down, picked up my bag, and walked out. He was still in the shower. No note, no confrontation, no chance to lie to my face. I got in my car and drove with both windows down even though it was raining. My fingers wouldn't stop, shaking. My brain kept replaying her name on that screen. Grace, my sister. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling until 4 a.m. Then I opened our friend group chat and dropped the screenshots, every one of them. And after that, I blocked Jake's number. I didn't answer his calls. I didn't read his texts. I didn't give him the, closure he didn't deserve. But what haunted me wasn't him. It was her. Because Jake was just a guy I loved. But Grace was blood, and betrayal from blood cuts deeper. I flew home the next morning. No warning, no explanation. I packed a bag, got in my car, and drove to the airport like I was escaping a fire. Because that's exactly what it felt like the walls of my life had collapsed overnight, and I was choking on the smoke. I didn't even know what I was going to say. All I knew was that I had to see Grace's face. I had to look her in the eye and ask why. Not for closure, I wasn't that naive, but because I needed to hear it from her. I needed to see if she'd flinch. When I walked into my parents' house, everything looked the same. The same cream walls, the same scent of lemon cleaner and dried roses. Grace was sitting at the kitchen table like nothing had happened, scrolling through her phone with a bag of chips next to her. Calm, casual, like she hadn't just detonated my world. I didn't say a word. I took the printed screenshots out of my purse. Yes, I printed them, because I wanted them to see this with their own eyes, and I dropped them onto the table in front of her. Mom turned from the sink. Dad looked up from his laptop. The room fell silent. Grace glanced down, scanned the pages, then looked up at me with this flat, empty stare, and she said, "Yeah, I did it. So what?" I didn't breathe. I couldn't. Mom gasped. Then, Crack, her hand flew across Grace's face so fast I almost didn't register it. I had never seen my mother hit anyone. Not even when we were kids and pushed every limit. Grace just blinked, like it barely hurt. Like it wasn't even real. Dad stood up so fast his chair fell backward. His voice was louder than I'd ever heard it. You pack your things. You're out of this house by the end of the week. For a moment, I felt something like relief. Like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't crazy. Maybe they saw it too. Maybe for once, Grace wasn't going to be protected from the consequences, but I should have known better. 2 days later, she dropped another bomb. She was pregnant, with Jake's baby. I stood in the hallway, holding my phone, listening to Mom say it over speakerphone like she was reading off a grocery list. We just found out. Grace is scared. We're trying to support her. Support her? Just 48 hours ago, she was slapped and thrown out. Now she was the victim. The innocent girl who needed protection. The daughter who had made a mistake, but now carried life. And I was the problem. Mom even said it. You need to calm down. This is about family now. You need to let it go. Let it go? She destroyed my relationship. She tore our family apart. And now, because there was a baby involved, everything was supposed to be forgiven? I couldn't listen. I couldn't look at them. That night, I packed everything and left. I blocked them all, except Emma. She was just a kid. 11 years old, stuck in a house full of liars and cowards. She didn't deserve to be shut out with the rest of them. But Grace? Grace could have the house, the baby, the boyfriend. She could keep it all, because I was done trying to make sense of a family that chose betrayal over truth, and that was the last time I stepped foot in that house. For a while. 2 weeks of silence. That's how long it lasted. I had cut them all off, every number, every email, every shared group chat. My phone felt lighter without them, my mind a little quieter. I was still shattered, yes, but at least I was alone with the truth, not the lies. Then one morning, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. It was a text. Emily, we'd really love for you to come. It's a family event, after all. Attached was a photo of an ivory envelope. Inside, a wedding invitation. Grace and Jake. Grace. And Jake getting married. My mother had gotten a new number, just so she could send me that. As if a fresh phone plan would erase what they'd done. I didn't respond. I stared at the message for a long time, heart pounding, throat tight, and finally just laughed. It wasn't even bitter, it was hollow. Because by now I understood. The rules, truth didn't matter, image did, and they were going to have their perfect little photo op wedding, even if the bride had slept with her sister's boyfriend, but that wasn't the part that broke me. A few days later, my cousin Amy called me. She was one of the few people who believed me from the start. She sounded hesitant, but her words cut anyway. They're telling people you abandoned the family. I blinked. They said you didn't want to be part of the wedding, that you left because you were jealous, and that you're unstable. Unstable. The word echoed. My own parents, my sister. Rewriting everything, turning my silence into their narrative. Grace was now the brave daughter trying to heal the family. I was the bitter spinster who couldn't handle being left behind. That weekend, my cousin sent me photos from the bridal shower, white roses, gold chairs, a custom cake that said, "A new beginning." Mom was smiling next to Grace, hand on her pregnant belly. Jake had his arm around her like he hadn't betrayed me less than 3 months ago, and not once. Not once did anyone mention me. I wasn't just excluded, I was erased, but the cruelty didn't stop there. Amy told me Mom had been making comments at church, subtle ones, meant to sting. Things like, "We worry about Emily, she's still single. Still not settled. And now her younger sister's already having a baby." As if being unmarried was my real crime, as if my worth came down to when I wore a white dress, and how soon I produced grandchildren. That night, I sat in the dark and scrolled through old photos on my phone. Me and Grace as kids, dressed up in Halloween costumes, holding hands in front of our childhood treehouse. Photos of me and Jake, smiling in matching scarves at the Christmas market just 5 months earlier. A life I thought I understood. A family I thought I belonged to. Gone. Rewritten. Grace was the future now. And me, I was the cautionary tale. But here's the thing they never considered. You can only erase someone if they stay silent. And I was done staying silent. I was brushing my teeth when the phone rang. It was Emma. She never called me that late. I felt it in my chest before I even answered. Her voice was shaking. I could barely make out the words. Emily, Daddy's gone. He died this morning. I stood there, toothbrush still in hand, the sink still running. For a second, I didn't feel anything at all. And then everything hit me at once. Grief, confusion, rage. He'd been sick. For months. And no one told me. Not my mother. Not Grace. Just Emma. 11 years old, with tears in her voice and more courage than the rest of them combined. I booked a flight that night. I didn't care about the tension. I didn't care about the wedding I'd refused to attend or the lies they'd told. I wasn't going back for them. I was going back for Emma. And maybe for goodbye. The moment I walked into the house, it felt like stepping into a war zone, dressed like a stranger. Grace was there, visibly pregnant now, sitting on the couch like she owned the air. Mom barely looked up. The first thing out of her mouth, "You're only here for the money." Not hello, not how have you been, not even he asked for you. Just that. Grace chimed in too, hand on her stomach like some kind of protective shield. "We all had to pick up the pieces after you left, but I guess now that there's something to gain, you're back." I didn't say a word. I didn't owe them my voice. The funeral was quiet, hollow. No one cried except Emma and me. And honestly, I'm not even sure what I was mourning. The father I once loved, or the man who stood back while they buried me alive. But what came next, I wasn't prepared for. The will was read the following afternoon in the lawyer's office downtown. Grace came with her husband. Mom came in. Pearls, like she was walking into a fundraiser. I almost didn't go. I figured there wouldn't be anything left for me. And then, the lawyer began. 40% to me, 30% to Emma, 20% to Mom, 10% to Grace. I blinked. I looked up at the lawyer, wondering if I'd heard it wrong. But he just kept reading. There it was, in black and white. My father's final decision. The room erupted. Grace shot out of her chair, like she'd been electrocuted. Her husband started yelling before she did. "Are you kidding me? She abandoned this family. She doesn't even speak to him." Mom didn't speak. She just sat there, lips pressed together like she'd swallowed. Something bitter, but Grace. She looked at me like she could claw the money out of my hands. "You don't deserve it. I'm having a baby. I need this more than you. Give it up. Or I swear..." I stood. Not to argue, not to defend myself, but because I suddenly understood. My father's silence during his life had been cowardice. But this was the loudest thing he'd ever done. He knew what they were, what they did, and he gave me something they couldn't twist, couldn't steal, not unless I let them, and I wouldn't. Not now, not ever again. I should have felt triumphant after the will. I didn't. All I felt was watched. The moment I walked out of that lawyer's office, Grace and her husband started calling, messaging, demanding, threatening. At first, it was predictable. "Give up your share, Emily. You don't deserve a dime. This family isn't yours anymore." I didn't answer, so they changed tactics. 3 days later, all 4 of my tires were slashed outside my hotel. I didn't even realize until the valet came running after me, panic in his voice. I stood there in the parking lot, staring at the shredded rubber, my hands going cold. My name wasn't on any of the threats. No note, no call. But I knew. It was them. I filed a police report, quietly, just in case. Then the texts started again, this time from unknown numbers. Greedy little witch. He's rolling in his grave. Watch your back. That night, I barely slept. Every sound in the hallway made my heart race. I double-locked the door, pushed a chair under the handle. I knew it was irrational, but fear isn't always logical. Sometimes it's primal. 2 days later, I was coming back from dinner with Emma, who'd started staying with me when things got tense at home, when I saw him. A man, standing in the lobby, pretending to look at his phone. I'd never seen him before. But the second our eyes met, I knew. He wasn't there for the view. He was there for me. We walked past like nothing was wrong. Emma clutched my hand tighter than usual. When we got into the elevator, I asked her quietly, "Did you see that guy?" She nodded. "He was staring at you." I reported it to the front desk. They checked the cameras, promised to patrol the floor, but I already knew I wasn't safe here anymore. The next morning, I received a package, no return address. Inside was an old spiral-bound notebook. At first, I thought it was trash. Then I opened it. Pages. Dozens of pages. All filled with my name, locations, dates, handwritten notes about where I'd gone, who I was with, even what time I left the hotel. Someone had been following me, recording my every move. I dropped the notebook like it burned. I called my lawyer. We went straight to the courthouse and filed for a restraining order against Grace's husband. I didn't care if I had proof or not. I needed the paper trail. I needed a boundary, something to put between me and them. A few days later, we had a hearing. Grace and her husband showed up, acting smug, like this was a joke, like I was the unstable one. He said I was exaggerating, that I was bitter, that I always had a flair for drama. But when the judge looked at the photos of my car, the screenshots, the notebook, she granted the order, and for the first time in weeks, I exhaled. But that wasn't the end, because you can have court orders. You can have security. You can even have the truth. But people like Grace, they don't stop when you say no. They stop when you're gone, and I wasn't going anywhere. I thought the restraining order would be the end of it. I thought wrong. A week later, the front desk at the hotel called my room. A package had arrived, no name, no return address. I opened it slowly, already bracing myself. Inside was a beat-up, spiral notebook. My stomach sank. I knew what it was before I flipped it open, pages and pages of notes. My name, my movements, what I wore, who I was seen with, restaurants, appointments, even the funeral, every move I'd made since the will. Someone had been following me, recording me, obsessively. I stared at the writing, jagged, all caps, frantic. Some pages even mentioned Emma. That's when the fear turned to rage. I called my lawyer, again, called the police, again. They took the notebook as evidence, but I didn't need a lab to tell me who was behind it, Grace's husband. It had his smell all over it, paranoia, possessiveness, entitlement. I checked out of the hotel that night, didn't tell anyone, not even Emma, where I was going. I drove across town to a new place, paid in cash, checked in under a fake name. I wanted one thing, peace. But it didn't come. Not really. Even with the silence, I found myself jumping at shadows. Checking locks twice, sleeping with the lights on, waiting for the next knock, the next threat, the next twisted message. And then one morning my lawyer called. He said, "There's something else. Something your father left for you. A letter, Byron." Hands shook as I opened the envelope. His handwriting hit me like a wave. Sharp, stiff, familiar. There were only a few paragraphs. But every word cut deeper than anything Grace ever said. He apologized, said he saw what was happening but didn't know how to stop it, said he failed me, that he should have spoken up sooner, that he regretted not being brave enough to choose me. Over their comfort, he ended it with, "This gift isn't about money. It's what I never had the courage to say while I was alive. I see you. And I'm sorry." I didn't cry. Not at first. I just sat there in the new apartment I hadn't dared. Call home, holding the letter like it might evaporate. Like if I moved, the truth inside would disappear, and then I did cry. Not just for him, but for me. For the years I spent begging to be seen. For the times I defended them when they didn't defend me. For the version of myself I had to bury to make room for their version of family. A week later, the police arrested Grace's husband. He'd been caught trying to access my old hotel room with fake credentials. They never said what he planned to do, but I already knew. Whatever it was, he wouldn't get the chance. Grace never reached out. Not once, and that was fine, because some stories don't need a reunion. Some stories end when the main character chooses herself. It's been a few months now. I've moved again, somewhere quiet, somewhere I don't check the rearview mirror every time I drive home. Emma still calls. She's growing up fast, stronger than all of them. As for me, I'm not healed, not yet, but I'm free. And sometimes, that's more powerful than closure. They built a story without me, tried to erase me, but my father left proof of who I was, and this time, I'm not letting anyone write over it.